Hi, Kevin back again with another one of my video commentaries on The Walking Dead. This commentary involves Season 2, Episode 7, the episode titled Pretty Much Dead Already. And in this episode, like my this video, like my other videos, I'm going to be talking about the episode in a little more thematic, intellectual depth than some of the other reviews you'll see online here. And the way that I'll frame my discussion of this episode is in terms of a battle between hope and despair. Hope, of course, is the belief that something good can happen, that the world can be good. Despair, on the other hand, is a complete absence of hope, the loss of hope, the belief that really it can't turn out all right, that things won't be good. This episode really depicts that battle in a lot of different ways. So in what follows, what I'll do is talk about various instances of hope, and then the way that the episode resists those instances of hope. And before I get going really on those examples, I want to talk about just for a second about Glenn, because Glenn probably embodies the tension between hope and despair better than any other character in this episode. Dale embodies hope probably the most of anyone. Remember, he's the person who believes in life the most. He's the one, for instance, who who argues against the killing of Randall more than anyone. And I talk about that later in the episode Judge, Jury, and Executioner. But Glenn really is kind of in the middle. On one hand, he's incredibly idealistic. On the other, he's beginning to understand that things aren't like they used to be. And that really comes up in his discussion with Maggie when he says to her that he's forgot that the zombies are evil, that the walkers can kill them all. He says, walkers are dangerous, that secrets get you killed, and he doesn't want Maggie to be in danger. And he says, that he's acted really cavalierly. He allowed himself to be lowered into the well, for instance, and now he's really come to understand that the hope that these things will work out okay isn't necessarily the most reliable thing in the world. So now I'll go through some of the instances of hope and the ways that they get undermined. The first involves Carol. Remember that this is the episode in which we learn two main things happen. The first is that Glenn tells the group about the walkers in the barn, right? This is related to his belief that secrets really aren't going to defend them anymore. So the first thing of this episode that's important is him telling about the walkers in the barn. And of course, the most important thing that happens in this episode is the killing of Sophia, or the walker version of Sophia. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So, in terms of this framing I want to do between hope and despair, the belief that something good can happen and the belief that all is lost, I want to talk about the hope, the articulations, the expressions of hope before I go on. So, one instance of hope involves Sophia and Carol. And at one point early in the episode, Carol strenuously argues that my daughter is still out there, and Daryl supports her. Daryl is very hopeful. We've seen this previously in this season, that he's the one who goes out in the Cherokee Rose episode and, nearly dies because of his search for Sophia. That's the hope of Carol and Daryl, that Sophia will be found. Shane is the voice of despair. Shane says, you found a doll. That is, you didn't really do anything. You didn't show that Sophie is alive. You just found a doll in a creek bed. This is important for some practical and thematical reasons. I'll go with the thematic reason for now. When Shane says you found a doll, that isn't that he's given up hope because he's sad and the world is going to end. That's giving up hope in a really, really aggressive way. To say, you know what, your hope is a false hope. And I have a more practical way of looking at this. And that practical way tells me, look, you found a doll. That is not the same as finding a human being. Later on, Carol and Daryl go out together. This is after the stable scene where they argue, and Carol says she doesn't know. Maybe Sophia isn't out there. Maybe this is a lost cause. And Daryl is really resentful of that. He's contemptuous of it. He really is, resentful of her for saying such a thing. But he takes her out anyway, and they go out looking for Sophia, or they go out talking, I should say. And Daryl, again, points Carol to the Cherokee Rose. Remember, the Cherokee Rose is related to the hope for the weakened Native American culture. You can see more about this in my Chupacabra video about The Walking Dead. But Carol actually goes to these petals. Daryl says, "We're going to find her." And Carol says, agrees. She says, "We'll find her." And she reaches out and grabs the petal of the Cherokee Rose, which is symbolic of the hope of finding these children. And she reaches out and grabs that petal and caresses it. And that's a stark contrast to what's going to happen in an episode from now, when she sees those petals and she destroys the plant, right? In this episode, she's hopeful, and what follows after Sophia her walker self is killed, Carol rips apart the Cherokee Rose because she knows that hope for her daughter has been lost. A second instance of hope in this situation is Lori homeschooling Carl. They're sitting together on a tree stump or something, doing math problems together, and that's clearly an instance of a belief that there will be something after this, that there can be a normal life after this. You don't put your kid through fractions and decimals unless you really think there's something coming after this, or unless you think you need to reassure your child that there's something coming after this. So they do their math, and Carl at one point says, "You know what? Sophia will like it here. This place can be a home." And if you look at my two-part episode on the pastoral on Herschel's farm, you'll see how the idea of home is important. But the idea simply that Carl calls it home is important because it suggests a safe place to come to and a place that they can take Sophie to that will protect her. Now, we know that Sophie's a lost cause by now, but when you're first watching this episode, you realize that Carl really represents a hope for the future. The next instance of a hope, by the way, just to show the counter of that, Carl hopes and hopes and hopes for Sophia, just as Carol and Daryl does, but Shane, remember, is the one who says again and again, it's a lost cause, there's no hope. So Shane is despair, and characters like Dale and Carl and Daryl and Carol represent hope. The next clear instance of this appeal to hope happens when Rick goes to Herschel, right? Herschel is sitting eating lunch, and Rick goes to him and says, "Look, the walkers might be alive, but my people are alive." Which is to say, why can't you hang on to that hope like I do, that we'll come out of this okay? And then what he says next, when Herschel seems unmoved, is that, "My wife is pregnant. You can't send us out there again." Which is very interesting. The baby, of course, is a promise of hope. Remember that when you talk about a pregnant woman, you say that she's expecting. Well, if you tag the thematic meaning onto that baby, you say that we're expecting a birth and a rebirth.
Miley Cyrus, we at College Humor are shocked, offended, and disappointed in you.
We have never seen behavior like yours before. You're taking pop culture to entirely brand new lows. It is unheard of for someone to shed their wholesome Disney image and start parading their body around like some kind of hussy.
Coming through. Baby, go on and...
For Pete's sake, no other artist has ever shamelessly juxtaposed innocent and mature themes.
Pretended to engage in lesbian behavior to get attention.
I kissed a girl.
Or writhed around on the floor looking like they haven't showered in a dadgum week.
Trying to get a little bit tipsy.
And Wrecking Ball? Frolicking around in your birthday suit? Cheese and crackers! That is not normal pop star behavior.
And it's not just your videos. You tarnished Rolling Stone's flawless reputation with this topless cover baloney. Not to mention, you recently became the first human ever to use sexuality to get attention at the VMAs.
Goodness sakes alive, Miss Cyrus. A nationwide broadcast is not a platform for you to use your body in some kind of cheap publicity stunt.
Honestly, Miley, we feel bad for you. You're nothing but a helpless victim in all this, being played for the fool by your handlers who are just out to make a quick buck.
This is definitely not the latest chapter of your long-term, meticulously planned transition from your childhood persona to the next stage of your career.
Miss Ray Cyrus, we are appalled by your trailblazing acts of debauchery. We demand that you maintain the image you had as a 12-year-old forever.
I found you this party shell over by the tide pool.
Thank you. Now, if you'll excuse us, we're gonna go back inside the sealed vault we've all been living in since the Nixon administration.
It's Halloween! Time to carve up a pumpkin and put it on the porch!
But wait, you don't know how to carve a pumpkin. You're a moron. That's okay. You send that pumpkin to us.
Don't play around! Bring us your pumpkin! We know a thing or two about carving pumpkins. Cause we're the Pumpkin Carver Boys! I'm Bert.
I'm Cut.
So just make with the pumpkins already. We'll carve them up good.
We know what we're doing, okay? This is our job. We got reasonable rates.
We're pros. We can do all kinds of pumpkin carving designs. Designs such as a penis,
A penis.
a penis,
Penis.
a penis,
A penis.
a penis.
A penis.
Can't carve a pumpkin? Who cares? Swallow your pride and let us take care of you.
Don't be a clown for Halloween. We got your back here.
We'll carve them up real good for you. Cause we're the Pumpkin Carver Boys!
The Pumpkin Carver Boys are located outside the train station and are open for business from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday to Thursday. If you happen to see one of them boys in public and you have your pumpkin on your person or in your car, it is perfectly acceptable to approach them and talk business.
We're the Pumpkin Carver Boys.
What's wrong?
I don't know how to swim.
What?
I've been on this boat all week, just dreaming about what high school service would be like on Sunday. What if it's not what I thought it would be?
It will be, dummy.
I'm not dummy. Maybe you're stupid.
I'm not stupid at all. Well, I'm sorry. Wanna go to church? Where are we?